This is the one and only Ivan, chapters 87 through 92. Chapter 87, Imagining. It's different now when I paint. I'm not painting what I see in front of me, a banana, an apple. I'm painting what I see in my head, things that don't exist, at least not yet. Chapter 88, Knot Tag. I pull out Knot Tag stuffing. Carefully, I fill her with my paintings, hiding them so Mac won't sell them. She's large, bigger than Bob, but I still have to crumple a few of them. Bob tries to settle on her for a nap. "You've killed her," he complains. "I had to," I say. "I miss your stomach," Bob admits. "It's so spacious." When Julia arrives, she notices that I've used up my paints and paper. "Wow," Julia shakes her head. "You are one serious artist, Ivan." Chapter 89, One More Thing. My finger painting has sold for $40, with frame. Mac is happy. He brings me a large pile of paper and big buckets of paint. "Get to work," he says. I paint for Mac during the day and for Ruby at night. I nap when I can. But my nighttime picture isn't quite right. It's big, that's for sure. When I place all the pieces on the floor of my cage side by side, the cement is almost completely covered. But something is still missing. Bob says I'm crazy. "There's Ruby," he says, pointing with his nose. "There's the zoo. There are the elephants. What's wrong with it?" "It needs one more thing," I say. Bob groans. "Ugh, you're being a temperamental artist. What could possibly be missing?" I stare at the huge expanse of colors and shapes. I don't know how to explain to Bob that it isn't done yet. "I'll just have to wait," I say at last. "Something will come to me, and then I'll know my painting is finally ready." Chapter 90, The 7 o'clock Show. During the last show of the day, Ruby seems tired. When she stumbles, Mac reaches for the claw stick. I tense, waiting for her to strike back. Ruby doesn't even flinch. She just keeps plodding along, and after a while, Snickers jumps onto her back. Chapter 91, 12. I lie in my cage with Bob on my stomach. We are watching Julia do her homework. She doesn't seem to be enjoying it. I can tell because she is sighing more than usual. Again, for the 100th time, or maybe the 1,000th, I wonder what is missing from my painting. And for the 100th time, or maybe the 1,000th, I don't have an answer. "Dad," Julia says as George passes by with a mop, "can I ask you a question?" "May I?" George corrects. "Ask away." Julia glances down at a piece of paper. "What's the difference between the word spelled Principal and the one spelled Principle?" "Well, the first one is the head of the school, like Miss Garcia. The second one is a belief that happens or that helps you know what's right or wrong." He smiles. "For example, it's against my principles to do my daughter's homework for her." Julia groans. "If I'm going to be an artist when I grow up, why do I need to know how to spell?" With a laugh, George heads off. Poor Julia, I think. Gorillas get by just fine without learning how to spell. All those endless letters, those sticks and circles and zigzags, filling up books and magazines, billboards and candy wrappers. Words. Humans love their words. I leap up. Bob goes flying straight into my pool. "A word!" "You know how I feel about wet feet," Bob yells. He scrambles out of the water, shaking each foot in dismay. I look out my window at the billboard. I can still hear Mac's voice in my head. "Come to the Exit 8 Big Top Mall and Video Arcade, home of the one and only Ivan Mighty Silverback." I count to 12, and then I count again, just to be sure. Chapter 92, H. I lay out 16 pieces of poster board, 4 down, for a cross, a perfect square. What are you up to? Bob demands. I'm guessing it doesn't involve sleep. It has to do with the billboard. That sign's a monstrosity, particularly since I'm not featured. I grab my bucket of red paint. You're not on the billboard because you're not in the show, I point out. Technically, I don't even live here, Bob says with a sniff. I'm homeless by choice. I know, I'm just saying. I study the billboard. Then I make 2 fat lines like broom handles, another fat line that connects them. I stand back. What do you think? What is it? No, wait, let me guess. A ladder. Not a ladder, I say. A letter. At least I think that's what they're called. I have to make 3 more. Bob cuddles up next to Not Tag. Why, he asks, yawning. Because then I'll have a word, a very important word. I dip my fingers into the paint. What word? Bob asks. Home. Bob closes his eyes. That's not so important, he says quietly.